Meghan Markle's public image has reached a point where the central question is no longer whether she can generate attention. She clearly can. Her name still moves headlines. Her brand launches are still covered. Her outfits are still analyzed. Her interviews are still discussed. Her social media activity still creates reaction. Every time she appears in a carefully styled video, a glossy magazine feature, a humanitarian setting, or a lifestyle product campaign, the media responds, but attention is not the same as trust. And that is the problem at the heart of Meghan's current PR crisis. For years, Meghan has been presented through different versions of the same reinvention. The actress turned duchess, the humanitarian, the feminist advocate, the young mother, the royal whistleblower, the California entrepreneur, the lifestyle curator, the philanthropist, the podcaster, the producer, the wellness-adjacent brand founder, and now the woman trying to build a commercial identity through As Ever. Each version has generated noise, but none of them has fully settled. That is why a serious PR discussion around Meghan has to begin with one uncomfortable point. The public does not seem confused about her because they lack information. The public seems fatigued because they have seen too many versions. The issue is consistency. A strong public brand usually has a clear emotional promise.
Can you give me a prediction for when I'm talking to you this time, 2027? Where will Harry and Meghan be?
Stripped of their titles.
When people think of a figure they trust, they understand what that person represents. It may be elegance, service, rebelliousness, expertise, warmth, glamour, discipline, humor, competence, or authenticity. The audience may not like the figure, but they know the lane. With Meghan, the lane keeps changing. One moment, she is warning about the dangers of social media and online harm. The next, she is using social media to push a lifestyle brand. One moment, she is associated with serious global conversations about censorship, misinformation, mental health, and child safety. The next, she is selling products built around aspiration, domestic luxury, and California softness. One moment, she is presented as a humanitarian voice. The next, she is discussed as a commercial influencer. Those identities can coexist, but only if they feel rooted in something real. That is where critics say Meghan keeps failing. The source discussion framed Meghan as a PR challenge almost beyond repair. The argument was not simply that she has bad press. Bad press can be survived. Many celebrities have recovered from scandal, mockery, failed projects, public embarrassment, and even periods of deep unpopularity. The larger argument was that Meghan has developed a pattern. High-profile launches.
Oh, JK. All right. What a wild week it's been
Oh my
for
God.
royal coverage. And you and I have spent the last 3 to 4 weeks covering Harry's big comeback. This was supposed to be a redemption tour. He'd had pictures, he had planned to deliver pictures of him with children, underprivileged, sick, balloon animals. He was going to try to go the Princess Diana route. Look at how compassionate and empathetic he is. And he was supposed to remind the UK why he was such a valuable asset to this country.
Heavy publicity, carefully curated messaging, and then a disconnect between the promise and the result. The audio projects did not create the long-term platform once imagined. The streaming partnership delivered attention, but not a stable creative identity. The lifestyle show created discussion, but not universal admiration. The As Ever brand generates headlines, but questions remain about its scale, operation, and long-term customer appeal. The social media following looks large, but critics question whether the engagement reflects genuine depth. The Philanthropy creates polished images, but skeptics ask whether it is service, branding, or both. That is the PR trap Meghan is in. Every move is interpreted through suspicion. A normal product launch becomes a test of authenticity. A charity appearance becomes a question about motive. A social media post becomes an audit of engagement. A magazine feature becomes another example of control. A business setback becomes proof that the brand does not convert attention into revenue. Once a public figure reaches that point, PR becomes much harder. A glossy photo shoot cannot fix a trust problem. A new spokesperson cannot fix a credibility problem. A rebrand cannot fix a pattern if the pattern continues underneath it.
Good point, but it is my understanding that the polling really devastates him, that he is polling closer to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and he has been for quite some time. But also we've been littered with these teases of Project Thaw, the idea that Harry could be coming back to be a working member. Thank you for shaking your head no.
That's just conspiratorial crap. Here's the truth, and we've talked about it forever. And I know I keep saying it, right? If I was totally honest with you, and I was living in Windsor on the long walk, everybody knows.
That is why the debate over whether Meghan can turn it around is so revealing. Ryan McCormack, the PR executive discussed in the source material, took a more optimistic view. His argument was that Meghan has not crossed a line so severe that recovery is impossible. In modern celebrity culture, people can survive a great deal. A public figure usually has to be caught in something truly shocking, undeniably reprehensible, and widely shareable before their career becomes impossible to revive. Meghan, in his view, has made missteps, but she has not reached that absolute point of no return. That is a fair argument. There are still people who like Meghan. There is still a loyal Sussex audience. There are still media outlets willing to cover her sympathetically. There are still brands, platforms, and publishers who understand that her name draws traffic. Meghan and Harry will never have zero public interest. Their royal connection guarantees some level of attention for the rest of their lives. But the harder question is whether that attention can still become meaningful success. That is where the pessimistic view becomes stronger. Meghan may always be famous, but fame is not the same as influence. Influence is not the same as trust, and trust is not the same as sales. This distinction is essential when looking at As Ever.
The old man worked for the royal family for 41 years. When they got married, it was a wonderful spectacle. The old man said to me before he died, there'll be trouble there. And I went, why? I said, just mark my words. He'll be back in England with his ginger tail between his legs within 10 years with 2 children in California he can't see. I thought it was a fairy tale. Very quickly, the cracks appeared. The truth of the matter is, when they said we're out, it's like, yeah, good. Support you. Don't want to be in the goldfish bowl? Go.
You did say that.
But you can't land in LA. Sign up to anybody who wants to wear your dirty linen. That dirty linen is the very thing the royal family that you purport to hate, so they're racist.
The brand has been promoted as Meghan's lifestyle and product venture, tied to the kind of domestic, aspirational world she has been trying to build around herself. Food, entertaining, warmth, beauty, simple elegance, and curated taste. In theory, that could work. Lifestyle brands can be extremely powerful when they make audiences feel invited into a coherent world. Martha Stewart did it through authority, consistency, taste, and practical usefulness. Other celebrity brands have succeeded because the product identity makes sense with the person selling it. With Meghan, the issue is that critics do not yet see the brand as fully grounded. The source discussion raised questions about As Ever shipping only within the United States, about limited personalization options, about whether the operation feels like a fully built in-house business or more like a white label product line, and about whether the customer experience matches the image being sold. Those are not small details. In lifestyle commerce, details are the brand. If a person sells refinement, the packaging has to feel refined. If a person sells personal warmth, the customer experience has to feel personal. If a person sells luxury, the product has to feel special. If a person sells authenticity, the operation cannot feel generic. That is why critics noticed reports of candles arriving without wicks, and why small operational mistakes become disproportionately damaging. A missing wick in an ordinary candle is a customer service issue.
He's going to stay at Buckingham Palace, and then he's not going to stay. But I was on air, And at 8 o'clock, he's going to stay. And at 20 past 8, he's not going to stay.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he and his odious wife would even want to go anywhere near Buckingham Palace, which is the very symbol of apparently the racist monarchy that they both hate. The truth is, they need photos in Buckingham Palace or with royal members of the family or, as you said, feeding kids or whatever, because that's all they've got left to tout. Because the United States has had enough, the United Kingdom has had enough, Australia's had enough, everybody's had enough.
Because there's no there there.
No, there's nothing there.
There's
nothing.
They're not creative. They're not.
A missing wick in a celebrity lifestyle brand built around attention to detail becomes a symbol. It tells critics that the product does not match the story. That is the danger for Meghan. Her brand is built on the promise that she sees the details, she curates, she hosts, she arranges flowers, she tells a story through food and objects, she creates an atmosphere. But if the public begins to believe the atmosphere is only performance and the business underneath is thin, every detail becomes evidence against her. This is also why the pricing debate matters. The source discussion focused partly on Meghan's wine, including the criticism that the bottles were priced around $35 and sold with a minimum order. Critics argued that this created an uncomfortable image during difficult economic times. A wealthy duchess selling aspirational lifestyle products to ordinary people who may not have the disposable income to participate in that world. McCormack offered a different view. If Meghan wants to build a true luxury brand, he argued, the price may actually be too low. Instead of trying to sit awkwardly between mass market accessibility and prestige, she could go fully into luxury, limited editions, higher prices, exclusivity, scarcity, and a clear, affluent target audience.
Probably the Sussexes through a third party who gives somebody $200. The whole thing is so duplicitous of them. I know that with William, you were just talking about him. I know that he is nowhere near a reconciliation ever with his brother. I know that Camilla also is very, very strong on that, and I hope and pray that they'll start to have some sort of more influence on Charles. Can I just say with Charles, I get it. Got 6 kids. I think that if you fell out and you were ill and you were in your 70s, you'd probably want to make good. But even he must now realise that he cannot say or do anything to his son without it ending up in a newspaper, on a podcast.
That is a strategic point worth taking seriously, as Eva's problem may be that it does not know what it wants to be. Is it a friendly lifestyle brand for ordinary women who want a touch of Meghan's California world? Is it a luxury brand for affluent consumers who want scarcity and status? Is it a wellness brand? Is it a food brand? Is it a wine brand? Is it a personal expression of Meghan's taste? Is it a commercial platform for whatever product category becomes available? If the answer is all of the above, then the brand risks feeling unfocused, and unfocused brands struggle to scale. McCormack's suggestion that Meghan might have been better served launching a non-alcoholic wellness drink is also revealing. Gen Z and younger consumers are drinking less alcohol than previous generations. Health, wellness, functional beverages, natural ingredients, and non-alcoholic rituals are all stronger cultural currents than they once were. Meghan could have aligned herself with that trend, a refined, alcohol-free drink tied to well-being, calm, motherhood, hosting, and modern health. Instead, critics argue, the wine product creates a tension with Meghan's more serious advocacy image. It is not that selling wine is inherently wrong. Many celebrities have alcohol brands, but Meghan also speaks in more elevated moral language.
We didn't know until Thursday that we were going to get this verdict, and I think he's actually gone underground.
I could have told you he'd have lost the court case about the hacking.
Yeah,
I could have told there was no substantial evidence at all,
according to the judge.
And I know plenty of male journalists whose lives were. Listen, the Levinson inquiry called out many people who made mistakes, as they do in many professions, but there were a lot of really good journalists to do with the Mail who were hauled over the coals for nothing. And at the end of the day, that 433-page report by the judge was pretty comprehensive.
Around online harm, child safety, mental health, and social responsibility. When a public figure moves between moral seriousness and lifestyle consumption, the connection has to be handled carefully. Otherwise, it looks like whatever identity is useful in the moment, that phrase captures much of the Meghan problem, useful in the moment. Philanthropy is useful when she wants moral weight. The Duchess title is useful when she wants prestige. Lifestyle branding is useful when she wants commercial softness. Social media is useful when she wants product attention. Privacy is useful when she wants boundaries. Publicity is useful when she wants relevance. The public sees these shifts and begins to question what is truly central. That brings us to social media. The source discussion raised suspicions about Meghan's follower numbers and engagement. The claim was not proven, and it should not be stated as fact that followers were bought. But the criticism is clear. If an account has millions of followers but relatively limited visible engagement, people will ask whether the audience is as organic, active, and commercially valuable as it appears. In influencer marketing, engagement matters more than vanity numbers. A huge follower count can impress casual observers, but brands care about whether real people are liking, sharing, commenting, buying, and returning.
My humble is a disaster.
It's so true.
Almost everything that he tries to do is a disaster. Almost every time I've said it to you before on the air, I don't know who advises him, but it's almost, I would put on a par his advisors with the advisors for Keir Starmer. Literally crap.
Yeah.
You're going to make amends with your dad who's got cancer, you're going to bring your kids, you're trying to... No, I'm not coming. Everybody knows that you're a liar. Everybody knows that she pulls your strings, literally. And I just think public opinion can never, ever be reversed on either of them.
A smaller but loyal audience can be far more valuable than a large passive one. If comments are turned off or engagement is difficult to assess, suspicion increases because outsiders cannot see the full relationship between the figure and the audience. This matters for Meghan because her business depends on conversion. Headlines do not pay for inventory. Articles do not guarantee repeat customers. Trending topics do not necessarily create loyalty. If millions of people know Meghan's name but only a small portion are willing to buy her products, the brand has a serious problem. Awareness is high, but trust may be low. Curiosity is high, but commitment may be weak. That is why media coverage alone cannot save as ever. The mainstream media can write about Meghan every day and still not make her brand successful. Outlets may profit from her name because clicks, debate, praise, criticism, and outrage all generate traffic. But that value belongs to the media outlet, not necessarily to Meghan. The article gets attention, the channel gets views, the newspaper gets traffic, the commentator gets engagement. But does the customer buy the jam, the wine, the honey, the flowers, or the next product? That is the commercial test. And that is the test Meghan still has to pass. The same issue haunted her media career after leaving the royal family. The first wave of interest was enormous because people wanted the royal story.
The way that they try to save this trip is the sympathy card by visiting Althorpe with the kids, by visiting Diana's grave. Does that feel grotesque to you?
I think it's a bit... Look, I always have to add a caveat here. I don't wish upon anybody at his age that lost their mother, okay?
Mm-hmm. We all agree on that, but
William lost his mother too.
Amen, yeah.
And many, many people in this world have lost parents, okay? I don't believe that I believe that everything they do, there's always an ulterior motive. Mm-hmm. There's always
They wanted to know what had happened inside the palace, why the couple left, how Meghan felt, what Harry believed, what the family had done, and whether the fairy tale had become a nightmare. That story sold, but once it was told, the question became, what else? The entertainment industry is ruthless about that question. A streamer may pay for the first royal documentary because the subject is explosive. A platform may take the first podcast because the names are globally famous. A publisher may pay for the first memoir because the world wants the inside account. But after the first round of revelation, the value changes. The audience asks whether the person can create something compelling beyond their own grievance. That is where Meghan's reinvention has struggled. Her critics argue that she is trying to become a lifestyle authority without having earned the public's trust in that role. Her supporters would say she is being held to an impossible standard because people are determined to dislike her no matter what she does. Both views have some truth. Meghan faces unusually intense hostility. But it is also true that she has often given critics material by over-controlling, overstaging, and over-explaining her image. The best PR often feels invisible. Meghan's PR often feels visible.
Trust people and go, oh my God, so you're doing this because just don't buy it with them. So much of it is manipulation. So much of it is coercion. And I never thought I'd say it, but I would never trust her anyway. Odious. But him, I think it's gone beyond. And you know, look at the way of the world. Look at what's going on in this country and look what's going on for almost everybody across the globe. And they make a life and they make a living out of toxic BS, misery, lies, everything. Yeah. You know, honestly, when I was on air, they're coming to Buckingham Palace. Oh, great. They're not coming. What? Why? It's not big enough, is it?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous, man.
That is a problem. When a magazine profile feels too controlled, people do not feel closer to the subject. They feel managed. When an interview avoids difficult questions, the audience notices the absence. When a brand video looks too polished but not emotionally alive, it can increase a sense of distance. When every public moment seems approved, styled, and insulated from risk, the person at the center can begin to feel less authentic, not more. That is why the suggestion of direct audience engagement is interesting. McCormack floated the idea that Meghan could benefit from more direct contact with supporters, perhaps through events or fan-style experiences where people pay for access, photos, autographs, or personal interaction. In celebrity culture, that can work. It turns passive admiration into active loyalty. It gives fans a memory. It creates a human connection no press release can replicate. But for Meghan, that strategy would come with risks. First, it might undermine the elevated Duchess image she still uses. A royal adjacent figure charging for direct access could look commercially awkward, especially given the Sussexes' long sensitivity around status and exploitation. Second, it would expose her to unscripted moments, and Meghan's brand has often relied on control.
And then Buckingham Palace, in a very rare move, because we know the very classic motto, never complain, never explain.
Yeah.
Not only do they explain, but they explained in great detail the timeline of what took place. Harry, for the last few weeks, has had the offer to stay at a royal residence in the lead up to this trip. Their anticipation and strategy behind the scenes for Buckingham Palace was to put a staff together for a family of 4 plus an entourage. They'd also have to go and organize hospitality, make sure food and beverage was there for them. Additional.
Third, it would test the size and intensity of her true fan base. If demand were weak, the optics would be damaging. So the better lesson may not be literal meet and greets. The better lesson is that Meghan needs real connection, not just followers, not just headlines, not just magazine placement, not just sympathetic profiles. Connection, a reason for ordinary people to believe that what she is doing is not only for herself. That is where philanthropy enters the conversation. The source discussion suggested Meghan may lean more heavily into philanthropy if commercial projects continue to struggle. That would make strategic sense. Philanthropy provides moral seriousness, public purpose, and a shield against criticism. If Meghan cannot become a trusted lifestyle mogul, she may try to become a more visibly charitable figure, especially around issues such as online harm, families, young people, and women's empowerment. But philanthropy has to be handled carefully. If it feels transactional, it backfires. If it looks like a branding accessory, it backfires. If charitable work appears only when commercial relevance is slipping, people notice. Princess Diana's humanitarian work succeeded because people believed she was emotionally present.
most ludicrous to me. But how much do you think it, because it's my understanding that he was very frustrated the last time he was here, that he was showing up late because he didn't have all the bells and whistles of the presidential type of motorcade. How much of this is ego in that frustration
Loads.
of why does William get it? Why does
Well, because
William
he's the next king. Your wife is odious, and you said you weren't interested in the royal family, and you buggered off to America. So swallow it. Honestly, I don't understand. I don't. And I honestly, and I tell you what, I also think, and I've said this a lot, and a lot of people recoil when I say this. I think he's so devious and led by her that the whole "let's get back in with the king" thing is
with the people in front of her. She did not simply stand near a cause, she touched it. She sat with people. She made the sick, the stigmatized, and the ignored feel seen. The image was powerful because the feeling seemed real. Meghan has not yet achieved that level of public trust. She may care about the causes she highlights. It would be unfair to assume every charitable appearance is fake. Public figures can have mixed motives and still do good. But Meghan's challenge is that much of the audience now reads her actions through the lens of strategy. That makes genuine connection harder to communicate. This is why the bullying allegations and staff turnover remain relevant, even when not legally resolved in the public domain. They form part of a broader pattern critics use to judge her. Allegations about difficult behavior, reports of staff departures, and repeated changes in PR representation all create the impression of instability. Meghan's defenders may argue that palace staff, tabloids, and hostile commentators exaggerated or weaponized these stories. Critics argue that patterns matter. From a PR perspective, the truth may matter less than the accumulated perception. If too many people believe someone is difficult, every new departure confirms the belief. If too many people believe someone is controlling,
based on two facts. One,
tell
the
me.
king is ill.
Yes.
And they see an opportunity to perhaps manufacture or wheedle their way, that's an English word, back in. Maybe talking about inheritance money, the future, because I can categorically tell you that when the king dies and William takes over, he's obviously he's got a memory like an elephant. He has never forgotten what Harry did to the royal family. It's all about institution. He used to go every Sunday from Eton. We lived, as you know, in Windsor, to tea or lunch with Granny, and that, to him, the monarchy is massive.
every polished feature confirms the belief. If too many people believe someone lacks authenticity, every sentimental video confirms the belief. That is the cruel logic of reputation. Once a narrative sticks, even neutral facts begin to support it. So can Meghan turn it around? The optimistic answer is yes, but only with radical discipline. She would need to stop chasing big, splashy reinventions and start building smaller, credible wins. She would need to decide what as ever actually is and commit to that identity. She would need to improve the customer experience, make the product line coherent, and avoid categories that confuse the brand. She would need to engage her genuine audience consistently rather than relying on media storms. She would need to choose charitable work that feels sustained rather than decorative. She would need to take advice, accept criticism, and resist the urge to control every angle of coverage. Most importantly, she would need time. Not 1 month, not one magazine cycle, not one launch. Time, years of consistent behavior, are the only thing that can rebuild trust once the public begins to doubt motive. That is the part that makes the pessimistic answer so persuasive. Meghan's critics do not believe she has the patience for that.
Really important. I think his wife has been the greatest asset that the royal family has ever had from outside, and perhaps should have learned that lesson some time ago. But Harry, will be cut off. I would give any money I've got that if he hasn't been stripped along with his wife, he will be when William becomes king. But King Charles should go. I'm sick of this. It doesn't mean I don't love you, son, but I'm done with this. This is drama. It's no end of drama. It's just always a circus you didn't want to be in. You can just be called Harry, and then you'll have like Andrew Mountbatten. Well, he's still apparently walking around his little house going, I'm a royal.
They see a pattern of quick repositioning, high control messaging, and projects that appear to be abandoned or redefined when they do not produce the desired response. They do not believe she will allow the humility required for a true comeback. They believe her brand is driven more by ego than by service, more by image than by substance. That may be harsh, but in PR, perception becomes reality if enough people believe it for long enough. The truth is that Meghan still has assets. She is globally famous. She is visually polished. She understands the language of aspiration. She has loyal supporters. She has royal status, whether critics like it or not. She has access to elite media networks. She can still attract coverage. She can still provoke debate. She can still sell to a core audience. But she also has liabilities. She is polarizing. Her authenticity is questioned. Her business results are scrutinized. Her social media metrics are debated. Her philanthropic motives are doubted. Her royal title complicates every commercial move. Her projects are often judged against the enormous expectations created when she and Harry first left the royal family. And the public has a long memory. That last point matters. People may forgive.
Call me sir.
Yeah.
Now you're best friends with a paedophile, mate. Do you know what I mean? Do me a favour.
What's it going to take for King Charles to strip them?
I
of their
don't know.
titles?
You read, don't you, that he doesn't like confrontation. You read that he's somebody who likes to sort of placate. But if he doesn't, I'm sure William will.
I know, but I don't know if I have the patience for that.
As a royal reporter, I'm always...
But they do not always forget. The Oprah interview, the accusations against the royal family, the tension with Queen Elizabeth in her final years, the Netflix series, the memoir around Harry, the commercial deals, the staff stories, the constant reinventions, all of it remains part of the public file. Meghan cannot simply launch a new product and expect that history to vanish. Every new chapter is read through the old chapters. There is also a difference between a media appetite and a customer appetite. This is one of the most important distinctions in Meghan's situation. The media may still have an appetite for Meghan because she creates arguments, she is clickable, she divides people. A positive story about her brings supporters. A negative story brings critics. A neutral story still produces comments, because almost nobody feels neutral about her anymore. For publishers, broadcasters, and commentators, that is useful. But a customer appetite is different. A customer appetite means people want the product, not just the debate. It means they will buy without needing a controversy attached. It means they return because the jam is good, the wine is desirable, the candle feels special, the customer service works, the brand world is appealing, and the relationship with the customer feels reliable. That is a much harder thing to build. Meghan has media demand.
Relationships, jobs, they monetize everything.
Victimhood, if Meghan Markle is embracing children with cancer and then they're flipping those pictures on the AI app so you can buy the clothes she's wearing while she's visiting terror sites and touching children.
Really?
Yes, and it says Meghan, Duchess of Sussex across the app, and you can buy her wardrobe as she's engaging in this
Meghan, Duchess of Sussex.
Yes, and I mean, and it's not just the fact that they're milking the titles for commercial reasons. They also are making in my opinion, they're making the royal family's lives very...
Question is whether she has consumer demand. Those are not the same. A public figure can be endlessly discussed and still fail to create a stable business. In fact, sometimes the discussion works against the business. If every product launch becomes a culture war, ordinary customers may step back. They may not want to feel that buying a jar, a bottle, or a candle is a political statement. They may simply want something beautiful, useful, or delicious. If the emotional noise around the brand becomes louder than the product itself, the brand is in trouble. This is why As Ever needs more than headlines. It needs proof of life as a business. It needs clear stock, clear delivery, clear expansion plans, clear product logic, and clear customer loyalty. It needs to answer basic questions without relying on royal fascination. Who is this for? Why is it better than what already exists? What does the customer feel when they receive it? Why would they buy again? Why would they recommend it to a friend who does not care about Meghan Markle? That last question is the real test. Can As Ever sell to people who are not already emotionally invested in Meghan? If the answer is no, the brand remains a fan product. Fan products can make money, but they usually have a ceiling. They sell to loyalists, collectors, and people who want proximity to the celebrity.
Difficult. Yeah. Do you think this has been a fun or comfortable week for King Charles as these headlines have been going back and forth?
And that's why you and I and other commentators will sit here and recoil every time it happens and go, at what point is he going to go? Sod you. I can't bring. I'll tell you who I think is I say our. I mean, I would say the sensible person and who could have a real impact is Camilla.
Oh yes.
Because the word on the street is that she's even more angry about him than William is, and I get that because she spent years trying to be with the man that she knows she loved probably forever, and that wasn't denied, and he's probably ill, and she.
But they do not always become mainstream household brands. To move beyond the fan base, the product itself has to earn trust on its own. That is where Meghan's image can become a burden. The Duchess title opens the door, but it also brings scrutiny. The royal connection generates attention, but it also makes people ask whether the product is truly premium or merely titled. The celebrity creates curiosity, but it also makes every flaw newsworthy. A normal founder can make mistakes quietly. Meghan cannot. If the packaging is wrong, people notice. If the launch is awkward, people notice. If the stock is limited in a way that feels artificial, people notice. If the website feels impersonal, people notice. That level of scrutiny requires operational excellence. And that is a very different skill from generating publicity. Publicity can be arranged. Operational trust has to be earned. This is why changing PR teams alone cannot fix the situation. A brilliant PR advisor could help Meghan avoid obvious contradictions. They could push her away from mixed messaging, help her choose a sharper brand lane, encourage more transparent engagement, and prepare her for difficult questions. But if the product is not strong, the business not coherent, or the public behavior not consistent,
hates the fact that, but Harry makes everything about him and Meghan. Meghan makes everything about her and Harry, and it's draining. It's draining.
But you just said something that's really important, and I don't think that we are. And you've had cancer, my God. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you.
But cancer it's a horrible, horrible disease. We've all had people that have experienced it. But one thing that they stress when you're dealing with chemotherapy and when you're dealing with whatever kind of, I know King Charles is doing some experimental stuff that apparently is working wonders. But whenever you are dealing with that, they say to you, stress.
The advisor becomes a temporary patch. That was one of the strongest lessons in the source discussion. A PR professional can create a polished moment. They can put a client on a glossy cover. They can arrange a controlled interview. They can make the public look again. But if the person walks out of the polished moment and immediately behaves in a way that confirms the old narrative, the PR does not hold. For Meghan, the old narrative is that she is overmanaged, self-focused, status conscious, and inconsistent. To defeat that narrative, she would need to do the opposite for a long time. She would need fewer controlled set pieces and more substance, fewer grand statements and more useful work, fewer product categories and more product excellence, fewer leaks and more quiet consistency, fewer moral lectures and more visible humility. That kind of turnaround is possible, but it is not glamorous. It does not happen through one interview. It happens through repetition. A product arrives correctly, customers are treated well. A cause is supported for years, not days. A claim is backed by facts. A social media account engages honestly. A public appearance does not feel staged within an inch of its life. The brand slowly becomes less about proving Meghan right, and more about serving the people who buy into it. That would be a real comeback. But it would require Meghan to accept a smaller, slower path. And that may be the hardest part. When someone has been launched into global life at the level Meghan was, small steps can feel like humiliation. After royal tours, palace balconies, streaming deals, major interviews, and worldwide headlines, the discipline of building a modest business brick by brick may feel too ordinary. But ordinary discipline is exactly what successful brands need. The public consents when a person wants the status of success without the slow work of earning it. That perception is especially dangerous for Meghan, because she entered the royal story as someone who seemed to promise modernity, glamour, intelligence, and emotional authenticity. She was supposed to represent a new kind of royal woman. Then she left and promised a new kind of public service. Then she moved into media, lifestyle, advocacy, and commerce. Each stage raised expectations. Each stage also raised the stakes. So when the results are mixed, people judge the gap between promise and delivery. That gap is where her PR crisis lives. That is why her next move is so important. If she continues with scattered product drops, highly managed appearances, and moral messaging that sits awkwardly beside commerce, the brand will likely remain controversial without becoming truly powerful. It will produce articles, not necessarily loyalty. It will generate reaction, not necessarily trust. It will keep Meghan visible, but visibility alone may not be enough. If she chooses focus, the picture could change. A serious luxury brand would require scarcity, high quality, and a clear customer. A mass lifestyle brand would require warmth, accessibility, and practical value. A philanthropic identity would require sustained service and a willingness to let the cause be bigger than Meghan. A media comeback would require a format where she can be spontaneous, useful, and genuinely interesting without leaning on royal grievance. She cannot do all of these at once. That is the core lesson. Meghan's PR problem is not only that people dislike her, it is that people do not know which Meghan they are being asked to believe in. The Duchess, the victim, the entrepreneur, the activist, the lifestyle host, the humanitarian, the influencer, the mother, the royal rebel, the wellness-adjacent brand founder, the serious global voice. A person can contain many sides, of course, but a public brand cannot ask the audience to buy every identity at once without offering a stable center. Right now, that stable center is missing. That is why Meghan's PR cannot be fixed only by another PR expert. A skilled advisor can refine messaging, they can choose better platforms, improve timing, redirect attention, manage crises, and help avoid obvious mistakes. They can create a comeback plan, but they cannot create authenticity where the public does not feel it. They cannot make a scattered brand coherent if the person at the center keeps pulling it in different directions. They cannot make customers loyal if the product does not deliver. They cannot make philanthropy credible if it appears primarily strategic. PR can amplify truth. It can polish truth. It can frame truth, but it struggles when asked to replace truth. That is the uncomfortable conclusion. Meghan may still have a path back to a stronger public image, but it would require more than publicity. It would require behavior that contradicts the negative narrative for long enough that people begin to reconsider. It would require fewer grand gestures and more consistency. It would require listening, not only broadcasting. It would require her to pick one lane and prove she can stay in it. Until then, the cycle will continue. A new project will launch. The media will cover it. Supporters will celebrate it. Critics will dissect it. Questions will arise about authenticity, sales, engagement, motive, title, or execution. Then the brand will move on to the next attempt. That is not a comeback. That is a loop. And Meghan's biggest challenge now is escaping it, because the public already knows her name. The question is whether they still believe in what